All right, we're still keeping tabs on earnings here. Coinbase just reported numbers that sent those shares a little bit higher. But the bigger move is in Block as we look at some of the crypto-focused equities. Jack Dorsey's former Square did surprise with Cash App revenues beating expectations. Shares were up pretty big. Let's talk about it with Gareth Soloway as we get into some of the charts. He's the chief market strategist at InTheMoneyStocks.com. Gareth, this afternoon, it seems like, of course, everybody's watching Apple, but we don't have those numbers yet. Block, a fun one to talk about in the meantime?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the play I'm doing, right? Long Block, and obviously that's already popped. But to be honest, I'm looking at a short on Apple. And again, this is obviously short-term trading thought process, but we've had a move that's massive in Apple the last few days, really this week. It's up into a down-sloping trend line. So again, for understanding the chart is telling me to fade this move on Apple, while Block, if you look at Block, right, this is the amazing thing about it. It was trading at the COVID lows, and think about that in terms of this stock was trading at where everyone was locked down, where the world was going to end, and that's where it was trading going into earnings. So they didn't really have a very high bar here to meet, and they just blew it out of the park, and the stock is soaring.
Yeah, what do you think about the disconnect between Block, PayPal? I mean, some of the crypto-related payments businesses or trading businesses. I mean, Coinbase has had a decent little bounce, but even two is kind of stuck in a year-long range. While there's been so much excitement about crypto and Bitcoin, is that just because it's like ETF related and not connecting with some of these names that were down at lows?
I think that's what it is. I do think that the Bitcoin move has been, and we've seen a great move to 35,000. That is all on a speculation about the approval of the Spot ETF. And I do think it will be approved. My biggest concern with the move on Bitcoin is that it's already factoring in the approval. So sure, you'll get a reaction that'll pop Bitcoin higher. The question is, does it become a sell the news event? And I think that's really why you've had that move versus the drops that we've seen, frankly, in Square and kind of the sideways action in Coinbase.
Block was expected to do about $2.2 billion in Bitcoin revenue. I haven't seen that number yet in particular, but the Cash App one does seem to be a pretty nice little beat. They did almost $3.6 billion, and the street was looking for more like 3.4, and apparently generating a decent amount of profit. You know, I do kind of feel like Venmo still is the top dog, but I don't know, maybe they're losing a little bit of that ground. How does the Cash App factor into the view on Block? Do you think about that, Gareth?
Yeah, so there's no doubt that that's a positive, right? And anytime you have a stock that is literally trading at multi-year lows, any small positive like this can be viewed as a big catalyst for the stock to rebound. And again, it's important to recognize that even trading at the $52 level, we're only trading back to where this stock was trading in I believe it was September. So again, it was just so beaten down that the small positives like Cash App, people are going to say, wow, that's a relief. It's a sigh of relief. Shorts are going to run for the hills. That's going to be forced buying, and the buyers will come in here. Now, again, I wouldn't be chasing it north of 50, but again, the play was looking at the chart and saying, hey, listen, is this really at a point where it was in the lows of COVID, or is it really just an overdone story to the downside that deserves a bounce?
All right. Well, we're getting some of that bounce right now. Where would you want to take profit if you're long coming into this, which it seems like was the play? We're at about 51.85 right now. That's a pretty good little jump.
It is. That is. For me, I'm looking at the chart here, and it looks like there's resistance starting around 55. So anywhere between 55 and 57, that's probably where you want to take some off the table. And again, you can always hold a little bit, let it run with a break even or trailing stop, but that's definitely where it's going to start to meet a lot of resistance.
All right, only a couple bucks away from it right now. All right, so prep us a little bit for Apple. How are you thinking about that? I mean, you mentioned obviously the performance as a factor in the trade with the shares doing so much better than a stock like Block. But Apple's had a nice little pullback here too. I mean, we've got a decent little trend off the highs. It seems like it should be respected.
Yeah, and there's no doubt. I mean, it is well off the all-time highs. But again, when you factor in, at least for me, when you say, okay, well, the relations with China, which make up a huge amount of their revenue, are what they are with the U.S., there's that risk. Then you throw in a slowly slowing spending consumer. That's another risk if we get into a recession, which I think for the most part, I'm in the agreement that by early 2024, we're in a recession. You have phones that probably can be held longer without the upgrade cycle. And so there's a lot of things here that I think could actually hurt Apple Apple. Now, granted, again, it's not at the all-time highs, but it has rallied from approximately 165 to 177 just this week alone. That's factoring in some better than expected numbers. So they're going to have to do even better than expected to continue the stock price to the upside.
What about the new chips, making it in-house? I mean, when it goes into the products that don't ultimately move the needle, my view has kind of been it's exciting for them, and financially it should help their margins in theory. But, I mean, when was the last time Macs or iPads really moved the needle for this stock? I feel like not in a while.
Yeah, and you're right about that. I mean, the numbers themselves, we'll have to see what those numbers come out as. But I think again, with the chip side, it's a good longer term story with the margins maybe getting better. But I don't know if we'll see that reflected. And I wonder if the bigger fears of the China exposure, as well as a potential slowing economy, if those are enough to kind of bring the stock down, even if they blow out the numbers here.
Okay. And levels for Apple, just to come back to that real quick, we're about 178 right now. And we were, just the other day kind of threatening, the old COVID high, which, we broke through, but then we kind of tested again last July. So it seems like there's quite a bit of trading around this area, this juncture of 180-ish.
Yeah, if they blow the numbers out even better than the stock price has shown us here, you have upside resistance around 182 to 183. So that would be your upside kind of maximum for me. Downside would be a retrace back down to the recent lows around 165 to 166. So those are the two levels that as a trader I'll be watching.
All right. Great stuff. Appreciate the chart work and the details. Thanks for the catch up, Gareth.
Thank you.